I don't know. All I know is right now where I am, there it is, September the 10th, 2022, and officially Pacific time, it's 8 a.m. on my screen. There are lots of people who are joining from different places, and I want to show my friends. So, hello, friends, everyone who's there. Would you guys all do a little Brady Bunch wave up, down, left, right? Come on, move your heads. Look, make it look like you're looking at the people around you. And then let's look at all the people who are right out there, straight into your camera. Look at all the people who are watching afterwards, or listening afterwards, because there's some people who just listen in. So welcome to all those people. I'm going to take this chaotic screen down. There we go. Hey, do you notice anything different on my screen? Something a little bit different? Notice it? Above my left ear. Above my left ear.
RV Saturday group.
Look at that. That's different.
Yeah, very nice. RV Saturday group.
Before we talk about whether we like that or we don't, hold on a second. I have a technical. Everyone can still see me? Yeah?
Yes.
Good. Thank you. I want to start with a little bit of review, but I also just wanted to start with saying good morning to Jocelyn and to Barb and Betsy, and good morning to everyone who's here. This is a Saturday group. It is a different way of looking at religion. If you are new here, I like to encourage people to have their microphones unmuted, and I haven't said that for a long while. I do that because I don't feel that all of the wisdom is up here with me. A lot of the wisdom is out there with you all. I learned a bunch of this. So I learned a lot in rabbinical school, of course, and then I learned a lot in 12-step programs, and I learned that there's a lot of experience, strength, and hope, and there's a lot of wisdom in the rooms, that people have a lot of the wisdom. And so I want to encourage people to share the wisdom that they have on topics. Alex, I keep going full screen here. Is that...
That was my fault. I apologize.
Oh, no worries. No worries. So I'm going to go back and we're still good. So a lot of wisdom, and you guys are welcome to share. It's not the easiest thing to have open microphones. I know that. It gets a little bit garbled at times. Also, there's a chat feature, and if you are on a PC, you do not have the ability to just easily turn off your chat. And I know that the chat can get distracting sometimes for people. I don't have a really good solution for that other than mentioning it and saying, hey, folks, just keep in mind that the chat, at least by design, should be in addition to and adding to our gathering together and not distracting everyone. I remember Dr. Lothrop, he was the first teacher who treated my cohort in my prep school like we were adults. And he said, I don't frankly care what you do during class. If you want to doodle, but you do not have the right to distract anyone else from learning. And and he gave us, we were 14, 13, 15, we were little ones, but we understood the idea. And I asked you the same thing, is please do whatever it is that makes you comfortable while you're here, but best as you can not to distract other people too much. It's hard to do. Okay, good morning. So here we all are on our good mornings. Hi. So I'm just taking this in. I'm taking a little moment looking at everyone who's here. Last week we started with an exercise. We went into small groups, and I had told you about a success that I had in parking my problems and saying, here's this problem. You all deal with this for a week. I'll be back. And I just want you guys to know. Anyone remember that you parked a problem here last week? Show of hands. Yep. Yeah, parked a problem. I have really good news for you. You can have it back now.
I forgot what it was.
Really? That's fantastic. That's great. The idea was it should take a little bit of the mental effort off of you, and I hope that happened. Also, last week we talked about BART, and there was a great comment in the clubhouse Rabbi, when you were talking about BART, I was pretty sure you were talking about the Bay Area Rapid Transit, which was
having
not
lived there. Yeah.
not what I was going for. And I wanted to follow up on two other things. One, on a land acknowledgement, we've done those for a little while. I brought a quote. I wanted to do our acknowledgement of other people in a slightly different way today. And look at how glareful that is. Hold on, I'm going to zoom in on you. And this is what we're talking about. Privilege is when you think something is not a problem because it's not a problem to you personally. Privilege is when you think, well, that's not a problem because it's not a problem to you personally. And that was the point with when we did a Black Lives Matter shout out a long while ago. And that's the point of doing the land acknowledgement, is to say that even though I might not have been involved, I might not have started the thing, but I can still see, even though it's not my problem, I can still have some empathy, and I can still lift up the voices of people for whom it is personally a problem. And so I'm going to just leave this kind of in an adult way, and I'm going to say, hey, folks, get more involved. Lift up voices that are not your own. Lift up voices of people who need voices lifted.
Amen.
Amen. I'll take that. Bob, you have your hand raised. What's going on, bud?
Well, I just had a question about the parking thing, and I didn't know whether if people didn't pick up what they parked, are they going to get a parking ticket?
No, he was absent.
You don't need to have your claim check. You can have your problems back no matter what. Thank you, Bob, for keeping us with humor. Move that back along. Any comments, thoughts, follow up? I have one other thing that I wanted us to bring, which is this one. Hold on. That is not the right image. This one. On Monday, I sent out a newsletter. It was called Co-Feeling the Light. It was about me turning on the light and realizing for the first time that the overhead light was too bright. And it was based on an experience that I had where I had heard Jane complaining about how bright the lights had been. And I thought, what? And then finally came to thinking about it. I just wanted to know if we had any comments, thoughts, reactions, ahas, or no, I sure don't agree with you, Rabbi. That one's not true.
Yeah. It feels like it's never a problem until it's my problem.
Yeah, and that goes right with my pin, right? That goes right with the pin. It's not a problem until I feel it too. Yeah, thank you, Ron. Thank you for adding that part in.
Did you ever get your dimmer switch?
It is a very practical solution, Bob, but no, I did not install a dimmer switch. It's more, it was about really feeling. It was at first, right, the light was too bright for Jane, which wasn't too bright for me. And it was at first having the compassion and realizing it is a problem for her just because she says it's a problem for her. Similarly, when she says, and she's 52 going on 53, so you all do the math out about perimenopause, she says, oh my God, this house is way too hot right now. This is way too hot. That's a her problem. That's something Annie says. Annie says this, and we're trying to wean her off it. She looks at you and she goes, well, that's a you problem.
Full of compassion.
But when Jane's too hot, it's really just her that's too hot. It's not the house that's too hot. Yeah. But it's still having the compassion because it's a problem for her. And what I thought was interesting about the light one, which I'm not having hot flashes, but with the light one was that I came to realize that lights can be really bright. Like she wasn't nuts. Well, you
Careful, whatever you say next.
hey, you know
Many
what?
years.
In your own grave, dude.
If Jane wanted to monitor what I said, she could show up to the services.
You know, the thing that I picked up that I know is true, but it just made me more aware of it is that whole, like, when you're around a brain, you pick up what the other brain is thinking or doing.
Yeah.
And I noticed that, you know, when, even in the simple task of using language, if there's a slang word or something that I haven't heard in a while, and then a whole group of people start using that same word, all of a sudden I'm using it.
Yeah.
And I don't even realize that I picked up that word.
We have things in our brains called mirror neurons. And if this is just crazy, but it's a stupid human trick you can do with a newborn. So if you have a newborn in your life and you look straight at the newborn's face and you do this, you go with your mouth, the newborn will do that. We mirror the brains of the people around us, which is, you know, if you're with somebody who's frustrated and how are you? Fine. Like, yes, you can feel other people's feelings. It's co-regulation. It's what our brains do. And that was at the end of the article, it's one of the parts of grief, of losing one's partner, either mental, that somebody has dementia and you lose them that way, or that they're no longer here on earth, that you lose the person with whom your brain was co-regulating. And that's a loss. Jane's a grief and loss therapist, so we get a little bit of wisdom from her. Okay. Joe, I'm going to ask at this point, if we don't have things to talk about to review, if you'd bring us in with our prayers for today.
I would be happy to. The list today is Hugh, Ray, Patty, Lee, Carol, Flood Relief, the Ukraine, Lauren B., Lauren L., Linda, Phil, David, Marilyn G., Amy G., April, Greta, Mitch, Sandra, Vashti, Arletta, Abbas, the James Smith Cree Nation, Carla, Nancy T., Nancy K., September the 11th, 2001 Memorial, the Unemployed, Michelle W., and Bruce L.
And we're going to take all of those names and all the people who are in our hearts, and we're going to take a minute of silence starting right now. Thank you all. Alex, I done screwed myself up with the video again. There we go. Sorry about that. So today our topic is, I got a topic for today, and here's how this topic goes. I'd love you guys to give me some examples of things to which we are attached, things that we are attached to. What are some things that you are attached to?
Breathing.
That's a very fair one. Give me some others. Breathing.
My dog.
I'm going to make it pets. But yes, pets, dogs,
Kids.
kids.
With pets.
Favorite object, like my favorite coffee.
Oh,
Oh,
Spouses.
yeah.
I would say my my roles or identities.
Oh, that's a great one. Thank you, Jess. We're
My ignorance.
Boundaries.
wait, did someone say ignorance? Was that what?
Yeah,
it was?
my ignorance. Yeah.
I am attached to my ignorance. There's a great Mark Twain quote, which when you're wondering why do they not see the truth before them, and the Mark Twain quote says, "It is easier to fool someone than to get them to admit that they've been fooled."
Mm-hmm.
We are addicted to our ignorance, and there were some other ones that got said a moment ago. What?
Boundaries.
We are addicted to our boundaries. That is how it is. You can't change it. This is how it's got to be. I am addicted to some boundaries. Yeah, thank you, Rob.
Our belief that we are right.
Oh,
Our rightness.
Yeah, our certainty.
we are addicted to certainty and to being right.
Isn't that like a justification? Like, what do you call that in psychology when people are making up justifications in order to make themselves feel like they are in the right?
Jane would know.
I don't remember what the name is.
Yeah.
Well, there's four what I call four horsemen of the apocalypse.
Go ahead, Jack.
That's God, now what are they? Yeah, blame, evaluation, justification, and judgment. Judgment and justification. They come in different ways.
All right. I don't think these are all things to which we get attached, but it's a good list.
Yeah. Okay.
Blame, ignorance. Give me the other two so I have them.
Judgment and justification.
I don't know. I know people that just stick with those four as all their lives, apparently.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you can be very attached to those.
We can be attached to blaming. We can be attached to ignorance. Attached to judge. Oh, judgment goes with right.
Rightness.
Lives.
Okay.
They seem like they're nested within the attachment to being right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes. So don't mess me up with the fact.
They justify their position in order to be able to put a foundation in place.
Absolutely. They do that. We don't do that. They do that.
Of course not.
You're
perfect.
Oh, yeah. Hold on a second. Derek in a second, but I just heard from Emily, we are addicted to control.
Ooh.
Yeah, we are attached to being in control. I have a lovely story I want to share about that in a moment. Derek, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I'm attached to the idea of Elizabeth being Queen of England.
Yeah. I'm going to zoom that one really far out and say we are attached to ideas.
Comfortability.
Right? And we're attached to an idea of permanence.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And we're attached to spelling being the right way.
About projections.
Yeah.
One of the biggest is comfortability.
Oh, that's one of my favorites. Thank you. I'm changing colors, not for any good reason. We are addicted to comfort.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would add to that a little bit that we are highly addicted to non-discomfort.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah,
also,
definitely.
Can I say our if onlys that I am so attached sometimes to my if onlys that I have this idea that if one certain thing would have been different, then if only that would have changed everything. That would have been the
It all
one
would be
domino.
perfect.
It's not really one domino. It's more like points in a net, I guess. But I get attached to that one
We
point.
get attached to if only this, if only that. We get attached to my way of thinking.
Mm.
And the Buddhists say there's a huge one, and I thank people who I spoke with about this for not jumping this one in. The Buddhists say the biggest thing to which we are attached
is self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
The illusion of self.
This is who I am. This is who I am. You have violated that, and I need to let you know. Hey, you know this? Go ahead, Betsy.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say self-image, but that also fits in with permanence.
Well, and with
self,
roles and
because
identity, right?
The first gray hairs, when they appear.
I have permanence up there already. Yeah, thank you, Betsy.
They're beautiful sparkles.
I'm going to read you guys a story. Not from this book. I have another one from that book, but from this book. Zen Flesh, Zen Bones.
Oh, great.
And it's a wonderful story. It says, the Zen Master Hakoin. Now, for those of you who are paying very close attention, he's the guy who came up with the koan, what's the sound of one hand clapping? I just thought it was neat that there's a guy who actually, like, somebody came up with that. That was him. He said this. A story of him. The Zen Master Hakoin was praised by his neighbors as one living a pure life. A beautiful Japanese girl whose parents owned a food store lived near him. Suddenly, she was with child. Suddenly, without any warning, her parents discovered she was with child. This made her parents angry. But after much harassment, at last named... I'm going like one extra line at a time. Hold on. Discovered she was with child. This made her parents angry. She would not confess who the man was, but after much harassment, at last named Hakoin. In great anger, the parents went to the master. Is that so? Is all he would say. After the child was born, it was brought to Hakoin. By this time, he had lost his reputation, which did not trouble him. He took very good care of the child. He obtained milk from its neighbors and everything the little one needed. A year later, the girl mother could stand it no longer. She told her parents the truth. The real father of the child was a young man who worked in the fish market. The mother and father of the girl at once went to Hakoin to ask his forgiveness, to apologize at length, and to get the child back. Hakoin was willing. In yielding the child, all he said was, "Is that so?"
Wow.
If you look above what was my left ear a moment ago, if I get the screen going the right way again, you'll see I changed the name of our what we have here. This used to say something different. I changed it. Do you have feelings about that more than is that so?
What was it?
It used to say the Saturday service.
That's fine that you're there.
Thank you, Rob.
Because you are the center of it.
I'm facilitating.
You are.
You're the gathering point.
I'm the gathering point. I appreciate that. Hold on.
Every group needs a centering point.
We do, and this centering point right now is going to remind us that our topic at hand is attachment, not how fabulous and handsome the rabbi is. Go ahead, Rags. You were just saying something, and I missed you.
I was just asking if you were attached to being the center.
Ah, right. How attached are we to different things? Let's take a look at our list of things we are attached. What are the things on this list that you would say you could say you're the least attached to? If you had to. There's only one that's sticking out for me. Two of them that are sticking out for me that are my least, like I could have the least amount of attachment to.
Spelling.
Say it again, Bruce.
Spelling.
Spelling. Yeah, spelling. That one's easy to not be so attached to.
Control.
I don't think most people here are going to say that they're willing to give up control.
Coffee.
Yeah, that was the other easy one for me.
Was what I said.
But I'm not a
drink
coffee drinker, so
I drink tea.
I like tea.
All right, let's do a very quick show of hands. How many of you like coffee?
Oh,
Like,
Oh my
yeah.
God. Okay, so we don't even have to do the other end of that.
I'm not giving up coffee.
Yeah, I didn't say coffee. I said coffee cup.
Oh, your coffee cup. I think that's a great distinction. So let's think about our things.
Our things. Yeah.
There was I can't remember if he was Dominican friar. Let's say he was Dominican, and check my facts later, and I apologize if I'm off. But in 1495, a Dominican friar is in Florence, Italy. You might remember from history, that was when the Medicis started to amass a wealth and fortune, and it was people outside the church who were now getting rich and having things and enjoying the best parts of life. And this Dominican friar, again, he might not have been Dominican, and I can't remember his name right now. He decried all these vanities that people were attaching themselves to. Silver mirrors and paintings and perfume and all of these frivolous things outraged him. And he gave huge sermons about vanity, all of this vanity. And he got a whole bunch of people to follow him. And they went out to the middle of the Ponte Vecchio and they set fire to all these things in what became known as the bonfire of the vanities.
Bonfire of the Vanities.
If you didn't know, it was the 1980s book by the very same name. That's where the book got its title from.
The bonfire of what?
Bonfire of the Vanities. And he said that things like coffee cups, that's vanity. These other things, my pets, my kids, my spouses, breathing, those are all real important things. But silver-plated mirrors, that's vanity. He wound up becoming the most powerful man in all of Florence until the Pope excommunicated him and had him killed. So just little historical facts for you.
That's the Dominican, all right.
But we still have
There's a Buddhist idea, Japanese Buddhist idea about a coffee cup. Well, it wasn't about a coffee cup, but let's say it was. And it says, imagine the cup as already broken.
Yes.
Jane and I had a crystal, I can't remember the name of the company, a crystal.
Waterford.
No, it wasn't Waterford, but thank you for trying. It was a crystal candy dish, little tiny dish we got for our wedding. Well, we got actually 2 little penguins, crystal penguins for our wedding. We're like, this is the stupidest gift we've ever gotten. So
someone's watching and very hurt right now.
Yes, right. The giver of
we didn't want little crystal. Like, what the hell am I going to do with little crystal penguins? So we went back to the store, and you couldn't do anything.
They're the wedding couple.
Okay, you could have liked them. I didn't.
You could look at them and think about the person that gave them to you.
I still love the person who gave them to us. But so we exchanged these 2
penguins.
Crystal. I was hoping the word would come back of what brand they were. When we got this, let's. I'll get back to you next week.
Unimportant.
But a little footnote and we can take a tangent on it, is like how attached I am to getting the right name.
Right.
Swarovski?
Yes.
It could have been that one, but it's not. We got a candy dish.
The point of the story.
We got a little candy dish. And we hated it. Because every time, it was like a little bowl. We kept candy in it. It wasn't necessarily a candy dish. Every time we touched it, we got scared because we're going to break this $200.
Heart and soul.
We got every time we touched it, we would be afraid of breaking it until finally the fucking thing broke. And we were so relieved because now we didn't have to worry about the GD candy dish anymore. And this is this Buddhist idea of imagining the bowl, imagine the glass is already broken, that whatever it is that we have, so that we can already pre-mourn the fact, knowing that we're going to lose that thing someday. And so it doesn't come as quite a shock to us when in fact the thing breaks. That we're ready for it, that we're one step ahead, to not be so attached to things. I want to tell you a quick story about not being attached to outcomes. We're in France just recently on this most amazing trip that we had. And Emmett and I go to the top of the Arc de Triomphe, which is on the Champs-Élysées, and I'm having this wonderful memory of, I don't really have memories of it, but I know I was in this exact same spot with my parents at some point, and I'm up there at the top of the thing with Emmett, and Jane and Annie are below, and I'm thinking, well, it's wonderful. At some other point in his life, Emmett will probably come back here, and I remember, you know how in locations you remember things, and I remember that there's a place called Le Drugstore, and it's right down the block some. And I remember that my mother and sister got these fancy hairbrushes there, which that they still had. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to buy Jane and or Annie these fancy hairbrushes from this store. And even better, somebody had given me a tip for a wedding in form of a gift card, a debit card. And I have this debit card on me, and I'm going to use this debit card of mad money, so I'm not even going to have to feel the sting of overpaying for heirloom hairbrushes. And we go into the drug. Emmett and I go downstairs. We jaywalk across the street, running like mad people. Doing yes, Rob. You have your.
You told us this last week.
Did I tell this whole story last week? I think
No,
I might
you
have told
didn't.
the Tuesday group.
I don't remember it.
Yeah,
Group.
Tuesday.
It's okay. It's okay. So
We haven't heard it.
Must be.
okay.
Oh,
Rob, I completely thank you, because it's not beyond reasonable that I might have already told this story to the group, and it would have been really good to have interrupted me at this point. So for those of you who haven't heard the denouement of the story, we get into Le Drugstore, and they have a concierge there, and he welcomes us in, and it's Le Drugstore. It's so French, and it's off. And Annie stops at they have a patisserie, and they have macaron cookies, which are what Oreo cookies would dream about being if Oreo cookies could dream. And they're €2.50 each. And I'm like, that's expensive even for Paris, because the last place we were, they were €2, which was already nuts. And Annie stops at them and longingly looks for them, and I get kind of mad. I'm like, we could have gotten these at the last place, and you're gonna get 4 of them, and that's gonna be an extra €2, and I'm pissed. Like on the whole trip, I'm pissed about this €2 over. And I look, and they don't have the hairbrush. They don't have the hairbrush that I was going to buy Annie and Jane. And Annie asks again, and I snark at her, and I grab my water bottle in a slightly too more. You know when you do something and you realize you're in a pissier mood than you thought you were in based on your actions? You're like, oh, snap. Annie, I'm sorry for it. It's okay. Right. I say, I got to meet you guys outside, because and Jane buys the kids the macarons because she's in tune with that's what the kids wanted. And I said, I'll meet you down at the end of the block. There was a bench there. I'll meet you there. And I'm fuming, and I'm just, I say to Jane, I feel like I'm possessed, or like I'm having a flashback to the war. Like I'm so fucking mad. And I realized why I was mad was the story of what I wanted to have happened. I wrote a story. I'm going to buy a hairbrush for my daughter, for my wife. That didn't happen. And I was so attached to it that I am now inconsolable on the shams. Like I'm doing it all wrong. I'm ruining my day, or I'm ruining that part of my day. And I'm almost tanking. And then the kids come over and they sit and I get a taste of the pistachio. There's something we call a dad tax, which is that if you buy something with dad's money, dad's allowed to take a certain levy of that from you.
I like that.
So I get a taste of the mac. I don't really want it, but it's them trying to cheer me back up, and it works up just fine. And we go down, and I get to pick where we go for lunch because everyone's catering to me for a little bit, and it worked out just fine. Anyway, the story is about attachment. That I'm so attached to an idea of what I think should happen. That I ruin things. And I have a feeling I'm not the only one who gets so attached to outcomes, so attached to a story. Similarly, I had one before we left where I bought artichokes for Emmett. He loves artichokes. And I steam up the artichokes. I melt down the butter. I make the whole thing. And he wants ramen. And that one I was in real time well enough to catch myself. And I realized it's not about me. His happiness, it shouldn't be me making him happy is the important thing. The thing that's important is what he wants. He didn't ask me for it goes back to Bart a little bit with the authorization. He didn't ask me for artichokes that day. I decided to make him artichoke. I did that. That was my story. I got attached to it.
Well, is life the journey or the goal?
And it's what are we attached to? And I'm wondering if any of you have a similar kind of story of being so attached to an outcome that you done tanked the thing in pursuit of the goal. You might have messed up. I see some people, I see smiling recognition on people's faces. I'm going to take that. If you're just listening, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, I got some comments from YouTubers. It says that's the best description of a macaron cookie. Okay, about an Oreo dreaming. And Alyssa also wrote, like being hangry. Yeah, you get hangry, you lose a little bit. Anyone have a thing where they also feel like you got a little bit too attached and you want to share? Robin, you're scratching your eye. Look like you're raising your hand. Sorry about that.
No,
Don't scratch your head at times like this. Kip, what do you got?
I think it's whenever I get angry. You know, I can't give you an exact story, but whenever I'm angry, it's
I can help you out with that story, Michael. And then we're going to go to Kip's. I know that's kind of ballsy of me saying I can help you out with that story without knowing what the story is. But here's how this one goes. This is the work of Shantideva. Shantideva, 8th century monk in India. And he said this. He said that all of our anger comes from one of two things. He says our anger comes when we don't get what we want or we get what we don't want.
Oh.
And both of those have to do with want. And that's where the attachment part is.
Right.
When we don't get what we want or we got what we don't want, we get angry.
Getting what we want can be the worst of all.
And sometimes getting what we want can really mess us up. Yeah. That's advanced credit kind of stuff.
Well, the world is where it is because of desire.
That's a whole Buddhist thing. Hold on. I want to get to Kip because Kip had a story or maybe had a story. I don't know. Kip, you had something you wanted to share.
Well, I had a story, and I thought Robin was going to out me on it, but I'll self-out myself, and I have the dubious honor of actually having made my kids cry and asked to leave Disneyland.
Oh no!
Oh,
So I was wanting to have such a great trip and have fun, and let's do this and let's do that. But by the time we were, it's the last day, and I had both Liam and Katie in strollers, and they're like, "We just want to go home. We're so tired."
Because you were attached to what was going to happen.
I was attached to them having a really good time, and we should do a little bit more. We have some more time. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Right. You right. It's the attachment to this is how that's going to happen. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Kip, and Robin. Thank you for not outing your beloved on that. Good. What is something that you used to be attached to that you're no longer attached to? What is something that you used to be attached to that you're no longer attached to?
My teddy bear.
Your teddy bear? Go ahead, Ron.
Smoking large amounts of marijuana.
You used to be attached to smoking large amounts of marijuana, and now just small amounts is fine. That's great.
Every once in a while.
Okay, good. Good.
I had a caribou skin.
Say it again, Bruce. Something you used to be attached to and that you're no longer?
Yeah, I had a caribou skin. My parents wouldn't buy me a dog, but I got a caribou skin.
Oh,
It's quite a substitution.
yeah, that's depressing.
It's when we lived in Sweden, and it was a tan caribou skin, and it was really nice, and I was really attached to that.
Yeah, you gotta have a kid with a real active imagination to substitute a living thing for a pelt.
Yes.
That explains a lot.
A fur that you can
Wow.
pet.
Okay, but you were attached to it. So we got two things from childhood that we were attached to. How about give me a little older. Something that
there's a great comment in the chat. It says specific conceptions of the divine.
Oh, there you go.
That we're attached to specific ideas of this is who God is.
Yeah.
And that can be really scary to not be so attached to anymore, and to realize
who God isn't.
To realize that what we had thought is not necessarily so. And wow, yeah, that's a great one. Thank you, person in chat.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a great one also on Facebook. Here's from Patricia. Patricia says, "My looks.
Oh.
Now I am what I am, no problem." And some of you might remember Patricia showed up once to this in a house coat. And I was like, that is the best ever. Right? Is not being attached to, I have to look awesome all the time. Nobody else is showing up in their bathrobe.
Him?
What's the house code?
Not on.
Okay.
Pajamas.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I got another comment here from Alyssa. Says, it sounds like this ties into grief. When you have the notion of how your life should be and then it changes, you have to refigure out your life. Our attachment, and but Alyssa's completely on track here, that the more attached we are, the more blank we are. The less attached we are, the less blank we are. I'm going to ask that again, fill in the blanks. The more attached we are, the more blankety blank blank we are. The less attached we are, the less blankety blank blank we can be.
Content.
The more attached we are, the less content we are. Yeah? What else can you fill in for those blanks?
I was attached to having been saved and for sure going to heaven, maybe.
Yeah. Who else has gotten, who else has had an attachment to certainty?
Mm-hmm.
How many of us are still a bit overly attached to certainty?
I think we all are.
Okay, that would be everyone. Okay. And who likes coffee? Same group. Okay.
Coffee's delicious.
Yeah. It's attached. There's another one that I think we're attached to, overly attached to, and it causes us the most problems, is we're attached to right and wrong.
Right.
Right?
More than right and wrong.
Right. We are right.
We are attached to what we believe is right and wrong.
Correct. That gives me another story to read to you.
Okay.
This one is from Chuang Tzu, who was kind of a rascal. Oh, wrong button. I apologize. Hold on. I want to be pushing this button. There we go. This one is it's a Way of Chuang Tzu, translated by Thomas Merton. And he said this: we wear out our minds stubbornly clinging to one partial view of things, refusing to see a deeper agreement between this and its complement opposite, what we have called 3 in the morning. And this is the story part, so you can just let's start here. What is 3 in the morning? A monkey trainer went to his monkeys and told them, as regards your chestnuts, you're going to have 3 measures in the morning and 4 in the afternoon. This only sounds like a math problem. Stick with me. You got 3 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon. There's no higher math required than just holding on to place value. At this, they became angry. So he said, all right, in that case, I'll give you 4 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. This time they were satisfied. The 2 arrangements were the same in that the number of chestnuts did not change, but in one case the animals were displeased, in the other they were satisfied. The keeper had been willing to change his personal agreement in order to meet an objective condition. He lost nothing by it. The truly wise person, considering both sides of a question without partiality, sees them both in light of the Tao. This is called 2 courses at once. That might not have actually been the right story to illustrate the point I was going for. But I'm gonna let that. I'm halfway through reading it, but I can save myself here by saying I noticed that about halfway through the story. It's a great story, but it was not what I was going for. I wanted to read a different story.
Wrong.
But not being attached to it being the right story, I'm just going to say that was my point all along.
Very well played. That was excellent.
Or that was the one
Very
we
zen.
were all meant to hear.
It could be. Let me try this one. Dang it. Zen flesh, Zen bones. Tanzan and Ekidu were once traveling together over a muddy road. A heavy rain was still falling. Coming around a bend, they met a lovely girl in silk kimono and sash, unable to cross the intersection. Come on, girl, said Tanzan at once, lifting her in his arms. He carried her over the mud. Ekido did not speak again until that night when they reached a lodging temple. Then he no longer could restrain himself. We monks don't go near females, he told Tanzan, especially not young and lovely ones. It is dangerous. Why did you do that? I left the girl there, said Tanzan. Are you still carrying her?
Story.
Yeah, why are you still carrying her?
One of my favorite stories.
Yeah, I love that one.
How many of us are so attached to the story? And I'll bring this into next week. I want to start looking at forgiveness. How many of us are so attached to a story of what somebody did wrong to us?
Oh, yeah.
Which one would you rather give up? Your coffee cup or being attached to that story? This is what they did to me. And listen, I'm married to a therapist. You got to be able to tell your story to get through trauma. That's just how it is. That's real. But at a certain point, have we become overly attached to the story and we're not letting it go anymore?
Well, I think you just brought up something very important, and I think it attaches to your story about Paris.
Go ahead.
So there's something sentimental about connecting your mom and your sister and the hairbrush and Paris with your wife and your daughter in Paris with the hairbrush.
Right.
Always remember Paris.
But I could have done it. Listen, yes. And I thought about, then that ties directly into me being, it's the start of the story of me being at the top of the Arc de Triomphe. But I could have also handed that gosh darn debit card to Annie and say, buy all the macarons you want.
Yes, but my point, I guess I'm getting to, is that you maybe didn't even know at that moment in Paris that you were connected to legacy. It wasn't about hairbrushes. It was about connecting legacy from Annie's grandma to Annie.
Okay, so I'll tell you, is my mom on the line? Mom? Okay, so here's my plan. I hatched a plan. I'm a little attached to this one.
Okay.
What if for Christmas, Hanukkah, I asked my mom to buy Annie that hairbrush?
Oh.
Oh.
Oh, also a little footnote. I did talk to my mom and I said, Mom, can you believe they didn't have that hairbrush at the drugstore anymore? And she said, Brian, they're made by Mason Pearson. They're in England. It's a British company. We bought those.
What I thought was amazing was that the store was still there.
Oh, with the prices they're charging, they don't have to sell much. Thank you. So apparently we bought the hairbrushes in Harrods. So
wrong store. I love it.
Wrong country. Let me take a quick look at my notes on attachment. So here was my outline of what I thought we were going to do today. And we did exactly everything that I thought. Here it is. That's my outline. We did not do everything that I thought, but that's one thing that I've learned quite well is not to be that attached to this is how I think this lesson's going to go. I want to read a quote from Eric Fromm. And then I want to add in something about the Four Noble Truths. And then I'll feel like I got to all the notes.
Don't forget announcements.
And then we're going to, and we got announcements. Four Noble Truths. This is Buddhism. Suffering exists. Suffering arises from attachments. Suffering ceases when attachment to desires ceases. And then the fourth noble truth, I think, is kind of cheating. Is the fourth noble truth is there are 8 steps to doing this. I'm like, no, that's not one. That's like asking a genie on your 3rd wish for more wishes. That's not the 4th step. That's steps 5 through 12. So suffering is caused by our attachment. That goes back to Shantideva about the more we want things we don't get, we don't want. Here's from Eric Fromm, and then I got some announcements. You know what? I'm going to do announcements and then Eric Fromm. It's a good one to end on. If you want to talk more about God, we have a Shekhinah group. Please post something into the chat. I know Rita is back. I'm so glad to see. I saw Rita a moment ago on the screen. Rita's still here?
Mm-hmm. She was.
I have more people on the screen than I can see. Please do. Also, there are some second groups, and y'all have arranged to have your own meetings. That's totally cool. I'm not at those. Play nice. Do what you got to do. High Holiday Service is coming up September 30th. You probably already got an email about that. Invite your friends, please. It's a little more formal than this. It will be group and participatory, but I will be wearing a suit, so you should know the difference. On the 12th of September, that is Monday, we will be having a 12-step open to everyone. If you want to find out more, go into the Mighty Network, mn.rotb.org, and sign up. Or you can put here's this part of it. There we go. 12 steps for everyone Monday. There's the time. You can send an email to Joe. I'm going to keep that there. Please put it in the chat. I don't want to broadcast Joe's email to the whole world for too long. If you find yourself depressed, That happens. It's sometimes brain chemistry. It's okay to be depressed. Don't beat yourself up too much for being sad. That's an extra ass kicking you don't need. Today, after this service, we're going to have a special Hebrew group. We're going to try a new room, which will be open. It's for people who are curious and want to talk about learning Hebrew. There are some people who are interested in doing so, and they want to trade, hey, I've tried this book, and hey, I've tried that book. If you want to check that out, please check that out afterward. And then finally, the spotlight on the blah, 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 blah. The clubhouse has a spotlight. If there's some people who have just been, we have Bruce is coming up on our spotlight, and I wanted to invite Eileen and Jack Burke to fill out forms. You'll be contacted by our spotlight committee. We're on about a month delay, so if you've already submitted to be spotlit, so we can learn more about you. That we're not ignoring you. We got a few in the pipeline. So please check out and to be there. And that is it for any other announcements that people want to make. After this service, please stick around. After this gathering where I'm here at the glue of the center, there are other groups. There's the Donut Hour, which Joe and Maria run. There's the deep dive that Kip and Al run, and there's a poetry room that Ron hosts and runs. So to please be there. Also, as always, a thank you to Alex for running tech and making this seem. Mistakes happen. Most of those are mine. Alex keeps a lot of them from happening, and I'm always so very appreciative for that. And that's it for our announcements. I'm going to end us with this thought from Eric Fromm. Please hold. Oh, also, hey, if you would like to be on the committee to figure out how to keep this to be a sustainable ministry / congregation, please reach out to Kip and or Ron, who are helping to figure out how to do this. This is an organic thing. This started during the pandemic. But as you all probably are aware, we're continuing despite the fact that the pandemic levels seem down. We're still a community, and I'd love to continue as we're doing and to grow what we're doing. So to please talk to Kip and or Ron. And here's our quote from Eric Fromm. Eric Fromm said this. I'm going to read it twice because it's a deep one. He said, It is one thing to recognize one's dependence and limitations, and it is something entirely different to indulge this dependence, to worship the forces on which one depends. One is humility, the other self-humiliation. Now, think about this in terms of attachment. We are attached to many things, and I think by Fromm and others' definition, some of the things that we are attached to become idolatrous. And I kind of get what the bonfire of the vanities was about, which is about let's get rid of the attachments to things that don't really matter. Let's continue our attachments to the nobler things. It is one thing to recognize one's dependence and limitations. It's something entirely different to indulge this dependence, to worship the forces on which we depend. One is humiliation, one is humility, the other is self-humiliation. I'm going to end with that. I'm going to put everybody's faces back on the screen. There's everybody's faces. Everyone who likes coffee, wave. Thank you guys all for joining. Stick around. Alex, you are in charge. I'm going to stop the video recording now.